I want to start off with this. I want to start off with David Pakman. Okay, so he's interviewing Cory Booker. David Pakman famously belongs in the anti-Palestine, pro-Israel um, section of liberals that blame leftists for Kamala Harris losing the election. They see the issue of Palestine as a massive reason of why Kamala Harris lost the election in 2024 to Donald Trump. Um, like David Pakman is, he talks about how he wants a big tent, but it's the leftists that are in favor of Palestine. They're the ones that are making the tent too small. So, like, as he's advocating for not gatekeeping, he's gatekeeping his movement. So we're going to listen to what he has to say about Cory Booker, and then we're going to get into Hasan's take on this conversation that David Pakman had with Cory Booker's a senator? Anyway, let's go.
Officials, would you go on Hasan Piker's stream? Now, I want to kind of just make clear.
This is so funny. This is like the liberal version of what the liberals were asking about Zohar Mamdani in the election. He's like, would you go to Israel? And then the liberals are now saying, oh, would you go onto Hasan Piker's stream? Like that's the litmus test now. Are you liberal enough, or are you going into those dirty pro-Palestinian leftists?
And I don't really get along. He recently alleged that I have an AIPAC handler, something that he said without evidence, which actually really affected my show. I think the only reason he said that is I'm Jewish. I've never had an AIPAC handler or taken $1.
So David Pakman says that Hasan has said that David Pakman has an AIPAC handler, which is not true. Hasan's never said that. And then he says that I've lost views on my show because Hasan Piker said I have an AIPAC handler, right? Which is hilarious. It's not because of the actions that you've taken. It's not because of the pro-Israel and anti-Palestine stances that you've taken on your show that have destroyed your credibility. It's none of this like chorus money, dark money being revealed that is possibly influencing the things you're talking about. But it's because Hasan said you have an AIPAC handler, right? And then not only does he blame Hasan for this, which I just think is cute, I think it's downright cute, but that he says that, oh, Hasan only says this because I'm Jewish and he's anti-Semitic, right? Which is insane. It's an insane thing to say. Like, you're Jewish. The only videos you've put out about the issue of Palestine is to blame the Palestinians for their own death, and to criticize people that are pro-Palestine and anti-Israel.
It's become very popular to ask elected officials, would you go on Hasan Piker's stream? Now, I want to kind of just make clear, Hasan and I don't really get along. He recently alleged that I have an AIPAC handler, something that he said without evidence.
Recently alleged this, by the way.
Which actually really affected my show. I think the only reason he said that is I'm Jewish. I've never had an AIPAC handler or taken $1 from AIPAC or anything like that. But I recognize that he has a huge audience that is further.
And the only reason that Hasan said that is because he's Jewish, implying that he's anti-Semitic, right? Also implying that David Pakman has no pro-Israel stances in the past. And dude, it's so fucking obvious. Also, just the fact that he's crying about people not watching his channel is so fucking funny to me. He's like, bro, you've been pro-Israel since October 7th. I mean, since before October 7th, 2023. But like, ever since then, you've been really pro-Israel. And now you're complaining that when people like call you out for that shit. Remember when he came out and he's like, I don't even know how to pronounce AIPAC. Is it AIPAC? Is it IPAC? I don't know. And then he's also like, he was involved in that whole chorus scandal where like pro-Israel, basically like a pro-Israel lobbying group for the Democrats, paying social media influencers to create content for them. And then you wonder why there are so many liberals against Hasan.
The left of where you are and where I am. Reaching to the middle, I understand. Is there value in trying to reach that young, further to the left, anti-capitalist audience that he has built for better or worse?
A leader should reach out to everyone. I sit down with people in New Jersey from all across the political and ideological spectrum, especially looking to sit down with people that I don't agree with. They've made me a better senator. They've made me a better leader. They've made me a better public servant. So I appreciate the way you approach this question, because I remember getting kicked off when I was running for president, and we actually banded together and all said, enough of these, like, raise your hand if you believe da 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 da, which was just lightning bolt questions with no nuance and no discussion. I am seeing the crisis we're in because, again, in this.
So this is just like a very standard politician response, right? Would you reach out to this person? And then he like lists out a few things that he has personal grudges against Hasan for, and Cory Booker just ignores it all, and he's like, I think we should reach out to everyone, and then he goes into essentially what is preaching. He just starts preaching about and I'm a politician, and I got sick of no nuance in things.
Central Ward of Newark, New Jersey, there is so much frustration with politics as usual. We need a revolution like we had in the time of the New Deal, a revolution like we had in the time of LBJ in the 1960s. Every time we have a generational movement. And this is a time where enough of the baby boomer generation that has given us so much, but I don't think we should have, this should be the last baby boomer head of the Senate, the last baby boomer president. A new generation is rising in America that needs to have a powerful, revolutionary set of ideals to redeem the American dream. That's what I'm fighting for.
And what are these ideals? Like, okay, I'm curious to see, like, someone clip this out. I'm curious to see if this clip goes back around to Hasan, or if it just devolves into standard Democratic establishment drivel.
It behooves me to listen to people that I disagree with, because can make me better, can make my arguments sharper, or, as I've seen in my 25 years in politics, actually help me evolve as a leader to have better ideas.
So on the specifics of getting in front of that Hasan audience,
David Pakman's the one that brings it back to Hasan.
Valuable, not so much?
I think if you are saying, and I've said this to my team, you remember, I went in and took a job this year to help my caucus, who the average age is, I think it used to be 70-something, in the Senate as a whole, to say we're doing a terrible job communicating to young people. In fact, I think that one of the reasons why Donald Trump won is because he was getting on this.
And then this is what you'll notice, this is what Democrats are really starting to do more often. Essentially what they're doing is, instead of saying that Hasan represents a genuine interest and specific ideas and a direction that the party is moving, what they're saying is that, oh, his audience is young people. And so when people reach out to his audience, they're tapping into young people. This was done when Hasan was campaigning with Zoran. And this was done when Hasan is campaigning with Ahmed al-Sayed. Like, they're really unwilling to acknowledge that Hasan actually represents an interest for some of the Democratic base, and rather that he's just like an open access to a demographic. It's just young people, right? Because if you divorce the ideology of Hasan and his community, then you're not beholden to that ideology. It's essentially the political equivalent to just pulling the wool over your eyes, like hiding underneath a blanket and pretending like the monster that is pro-Palestine and anti-Israel, anti-establishment sentiment doesn't really exist. And then you can carry on being like, well, those are just young people, but I'm still going to take AIPAC money.
Cord and Twitch and mixed martial arts podcasts and platforms.
Yep, he's drawing comparisons between Hasan to MMA podcasts, right? Like, they are so demeaning to any kind of genuine resistance against Israel. Then they're just like, well, this is just like an alternative audience. It's not an alternative audience. Hasan's anti-Israel ideology represents the vast majority of Democrats right now. And it's politicians like Cory Booker who are, they're just too cowardly to acknowledge it. It really just boils down to cowardice.
Talking to young men, and we weren't even, our presidential team was not even on those platforms at all. They had a complete echo chamber with just their views. I got my team to get more on TikTok when other people did not realize that younger voters, that's how they get most of their news. And I've watched my caucus, because I can measure this all, more than 7x if you get out of Twitter, 4x with Twitter, the amount of engagement they have. I've seen how their engagement with younger voters has increased. I've seen them go on you and I both know in the creator economy, there are thousands of people that talk to young voters. And I've seen my colleagues get on more and more of those shows. So absolutely, yes, we have especially had a communications problem that for the 43 of us, I'm trying to push my team to go more and more to talk to younger voters who we need, not just to hear our message, but we need to be inspiring them to get.
Right. They're treating it like it's a communication issue rather than an acknowledgement of the genuine desire of the Democratic voters to see a real systemic change, not only in the way that the Democratic Party treats Israel, but also to the way that they interact with capital and the social welfare system in general. Also, just human rights. Like, you can't be in favor of human rights, like the right to abortion, the right to be treated humanely as an undocumented or documented immigrant, if you're not going to be pro-Palestine. Like, if you're unwilling to acknowledge the atrocities that Israel carries out on a daily basis, then what hope do people have in you to call out conservative hate crimes against transgender people, or the pogroms that ICE is carrying out in immigrant communities
on the field and begin to lead the Democratic Party in the United States of America from cynicism to activism so that we can have a better nation.
So maybe on the Hasan stream, I'm hearing.
He literally said over and over again that he would go and talk to everyone. Like, does David Pakman just want him to say, like, oh yeah, do you have his contact information? I'll call him and set up an interview.
On stream, I'm hearing.
No,
yeah. Like, I was actually fed up with David Pakman at the end of this interview. Anyway, how's everyone doing? So anyway, that's the clip, right? That's the clip that was going around of David Pakman talking to Cory Booker. And this is what, okay, so we're going to let Hasan's reaction to this play out. And then we'll talk about it. Because, look, like, this is very benign. At the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal the way that Hasan treats David Pakman. However, I do think that he is just incorrect in this segment. But we'll let it play.
Hasan and I don't really get along. He recently alleged that I have an AIPAC handler, something that he said without evidence, which actually really affected my show. I think the only reason he said...
No, I've jokingly referred to David Pakman as David A. Pac-Man, but did I say he has an AIPAC handler? I don't remember. I don't think I did. I've also always been pretty cordial about David Pakman, contrary to what my community says. I guess like people also were yelling, I'll defend David on the Chorus Wired article, but pretending to not know AIPAC is a bad look. Like, does he think we're dumb enough to not know he knows what AIPAC, to not know that he knows what AIPAC is? It is one of the most well-known, powerful lobbying groups in the U.S. and has been talked about plenty in the last decade. To pretend that he doesn't know what AIPAC pretending it could be pronounced IPAC is just insulting to anyone who follows this channel. All these years we defend this dude against AIPAC affiliation accusations, and he insults us by pretending not to know how to pronounce it. Like, I don't think David Pakman is like funded by AIPAC, for the record. I've never stated that. I don't think that that is the case. But obviously, like, this is an area where he is heavily biased, right? Yeah, I'm always so nice. I think this is probably a situation where Pakman is attributing your community's words to you. I'm always so nice about David.
Yeah, obviously you didn't say that David Pakman has an AIPAC handler. Remember when Ethan Klein got all pissy because Hasan, like, I don't even remember what it was. Like, Hasan insinuated that he was like collaborating with the ADL to get him banned off, to get people banned off of Twitch. And then Ethan's like, oh, I got all of these people banned off of Twitch. And the ADL was like, yeah, we got them banned off of Twitch. And so after Ethan Klein acknowledged that he essentially worked with the ADL, he's like, it's anti-Semitic of you to say that I work with the ADL. That was hilarious. What were we talking about again? We were talking about how Hasan didn't say that David Pakman has an AIPAC handler. But David Pakman says that, you know, he just makes it up, and then he's like, but Hasan's anti-Semitic for saying that.
Because he's always been like somewhat cordial with me in spite of a very obvious, like glaringly obvious differences in opinion. So I don't know why he's like attributing a loss of revenue to me. Trying to say that like I defamed him in a way that like actually impacted his his finances, very strange. Yeah, my community is not nice, and I yell at my community all the time, but there's obviously so much that I can personally do. If you are, if you are in defense of Israel, or at least like awfully quiet about the atrocities of Israel, then yeah, the people are going to make up their own minds, right? Israel is an area where he is heavily biased. That bias both stems from his own personal opinions about the state.
It's just so funny, right? Like, I don't know. People like David Pakman, Ethan Klein, they complain Destiny to an extent. They complain about Hasan souring their audience towards them, but it's just like, bro, like everyone is at the end of the day an individual person. Sure, maybe Hasan signal boosted some of the worst aspects of your content. But at the end of the day, everyone that was watching your show that is now no longer watching your show made that decision themselves. Is it like, do you think these people have like mind control over their audience? I just think it's so funny. It's like you get mad at their audience. You get mad at them because of their audience's behavior, but they're the one, like, yeah, it's their behavior that you should be getting mad at. And if you take Hasan's behavior and look at it just on the face of what he does, it really is very cordial. Like, he's a very cordial person to his fellow streamers and stuff. Like, look at the way that he treated Ethan Klein. Forever. He's treating him with so much grace and respect, far longer than he deserved. And I think this is a pattern that's rearing its head again with David Pakman, who just literally in this clip, accuses Hasan of anti-Semitism, saying that the only reason that he said I have an APAC handler is because I'm Jewish. Like, he's accusing him of being prejudiced against Jews. And Hasan is still like, no, David Pakman's a cool, chill guy. Like, we're friends. Did I say David Klein?
Of Israel, but it also stems from his personal opinions when it comes to American foreign policy. Like David, regardless of his socially progressive attitude, for years and years, has had a lot of differences of opinion from someone like myself when it comes to American foreign policy. And he lands on the side that almost always is on the side of the United States, that rehashes and repeats whatever the State Department line is on a particular matter. Okay, so there's multiple reasons. He responds and says, guys, give me a break. I'm not pretending to not know what APAC is. I'm just unsure on the pronunciation. It's the same as how I get mixed up with the first O in sorrow is pronounced or how the first A in Lara is pronounced. I mean, I don't know about all that. I think that's...
Okay, whatever. We'll skip back to the interview.
Well, but yeah, so that's a little crazy, right? Like, it's pretty obvious I did not say he has an APAC handler or anything like that. I don't know. I mean, maybe have I joked about it? I can't even think of an instance.
You didn't say it. You did. All right, whatever.
Where I've like made a joke that he could have taken seriously. Because like I said, I have a policy of like not being as disruptive to people who at least offer me some level of charity. I can't be out here burning bridges nonstop left and right. I don't really have a lot. I don't really have a lot of allies. I've definitely joked about calling him David A. Pakman. His brother...
Like, dude, this is what I don't understand. And this is why I wanted to cover this in this stream. Hasan acknowledges that David Pakman is like essentially an American imperialist, right? But then he goes on, like, an American imperialist, anti-Palestine, pro-Israel. At the very best, you can say that he ignored the genocide that Israel was carrying out against the Palestinians. And at the worst, you can say that he's doing defense for Israel's genocide of Palestinians. Like, I remember he came out with a video when that hospital in Gaza had been bombed, and he's like accusing all of these leftist streamers of anti-Semitism, right? Or accusing the Guardian of anti-Semitism because they wrote up an article saying that Israel bombed a hospital in Gaza. And then he's like, oh, well, they did it too quickly, and so, they're anti-Israeli, they're anti-Semitic. I wonder why they did it this quickly. Like, he has run defense for the genocide every single time he makes a video about Israel. And Hasan, very correctly, in my opinion, says that David Pakman is an American imperialist, but then he just goes on and says, well, I need to be nice to him because I don't have that many allies left. And I'm just at the point where, sure, David Pakman makes like Trump pooped his pants videos. That's great. Oh, look at that. He fell asleep in the Oval Office again. Wow. He makes Trump bad videos. Just because he makes Trump bad videos doesn't mean that he's your fucking ally. I don't like, sure, maybe he's socially progressive, but anyone who is unwilling to look at the genocide that Israel's doing, I don't think can be considered an ally of the online left right now. Like, he openly criticizes the left. He's called you anti-Semitic in this very video. And you're sitting here being like, don't be mean to David Pakman. He's my ally. And this is exactly what he did with Ethan Klein, where his entire chat for probably upwards to close to a year was saying that Ethan Klein is like really bad on Israel. Ethan Klein has been calling you like a terrorist supporter. Ethan Klein is making fun of Aaron Bushnell for self-immolating. He's saying that people being pro-Palestine on Twitter is empowering Netanyahu to do more genocide. He's bringing on Palestinian rights activists that blame the Palestinians for their own deaths. And Hasan's like, no, he has good stuff in his heart. I can't burn all of these bridges. It's like, this is a problem with him, but I just think this is a really massive blind spot where, like, David Pakman is at best to be the most charitable to him, turning a blind eye to genocide, and you're gonna sit in your room and be like, oh, he's my ally, I can't burn bridges. That's kind of crazy to me. That's really crazy to me. Not only are you like, oh, he's my ally, and ignoring the fact that he's like pro-genocide, he also just fucking called you anti-Semitic in this clip that you're reacting to currently. And you're still sitting there being like, no, I can't burn bridges with him. The bridge is burnt, dude. There's nothing to be gained from you sitting here and pretending like there's this bridge that you can walk across when it's gone. I don't get it. I don't think, like, sure, maybe you can have a cordial relationship with these people, but in the fucking clip where he says you're anti-Semitic and he's has this like bemused look in the tone of like, oh, these pro-Palestine content creators are all ridiculous, right? Like, this is not an ally tone this is not the tone you'd expect from someone that you think to call your ally. I think it's crazy. Like, I have two conditions when I'm considering voting for politicians. Are they anti-Israel? More specifically, are they pro-Palestine? Because you can say that like Marjorie Taylor Greene is anti-Israel, but she doesn't give a fuck about Palestine. And are they anti-capital? David Pakman, not anti-Israel, and as far as I can tell, he's not super anti-capital either. He's probably like more like pro-Medicare for all and pro-safety nets, but I don't think he's ideologically anti-capitalist.
Works for the ADL? No, I know that.
His brother works for the ADL, though, but he's my ally. All right, we'll rewind this one more time.
I guess like people also were yelling, I'll defend David on the Chorus Wired article, but yeah, so that's a little crazy, right? Like, it's pretty obvious I did not say he has an APAC handler or anything like that. I don't know. I mean, maybe have I joked about it? I can't even think of an instance where I've like made a joke that he could have taken seriously. Is like I said, I have a policy of like not being as disruptive to people who at least offer me some level of charity.
He just offer you some level of charity, and like, dude, I don't know, man. Everyone has their blind spots, right? Everyone has their blind spots. This is Hasan's blind spot. oh, this person is my friend. I'm going to always give them the benefit of the doubt, even when they're like saying right into my face, I hate you. I think you're a horrible person and you deserve to die. Hassan's like, wow, I like that. I just love being with you. Like we're such good allies. Like he's sitting here. He's like, David Pakman offers me some charitability. In the clip, David Pakman says, the only reason he says have an APAC handler is because I'm Jewish, which is calling you anti-Semitic. That's it. Calling you anti-Semitic is the charitability that you're saying he's extending to you. Like this is a massive blind spot for Hasan. My blind spot is my dick. Why is he like this? Because he's at the end of the day, Hasan is just a chubby little boy that loves to hang out with his friends. That's that. That's like the emotional development of Hasan. That's where his emotional development stopped maturing, and he still has these people that he thinks of as his friends, and he's going to always try to I don't know, like ignore. It's like he's obstinately ignoring any downside that they're saying in favor of like, oh well, we have to have a community or we have to be friends. But which is crazy because like he's obviously joked and called David Pakman an APAC, like David APAC man. Like he knows that David Pakman's pro-Israel and anti-Palestine, but all of a sudden now he's like, oh, he's my ally. I can't burn bridges. Like I can say that he's pro APAC and in line with APAC, but I'm not gonna. I don't even know what is the burning of a bridge here. Just being like, yeah, fuck David Pakman. Like, I don't know. Do I play OW? I don't know what that is.
I'm not. I can't. I can't be out here burning bridges nonstop, left and right. I don't really have a lot. You know, I don't really have a lot of allies. I've definitely joked about calling him David A. Pac-Man. His brother works for the ADL. No, I know.
Like, I just don't understand what the burning of a bridge is, right? You say that he works for APAC, whatever, in a joking manner. He's aligned with APAC, sure. So you say that. You acknowledge that he's pro-Israel. You acknowledge that he's anti-pro-Palestine. And what left is there to burn the bridge of? You say he's pro-APAC, pro-Israel, anti-Palestine. David Pakman says you're anti-Semitic, right? Like in return, he says you're anti-Semitic. What bridge are you trying to maintain here? Like, what's the next step in the degradation of this relationship? I just don't understand what Hasan has to gain by calling David Pakman an ally. Like he's pro-APAC, pro-Israel, anti-Palestine, but he's an ally of yours. And you're telling your audience, like, let's just put this into perspective. The audience clipped this out because David Pakman says that Hasan is anti-Semitic in this clip, right? For all intents and purposes, he's calling Hasan anti-Semitic. They clip it out, they post it onto his community. They're like, hey, watch this clip of David Pakman. Hasan watches it. He's like, oh, well, he's an ally and we shouldn't like burn bridges. What's the bridge? What bridge is being burned? How is your audience burning a bridge by clipping out a segment where David Pakman calls you anti-Semitic? Like nothing about this makes any sense. So like nothing about this makes any sense, and I keep finding myself at the refrain that this is a massive blind spot for Hasan. Like no one's perfect. Everyone has their weaknesses. Everyone has the things in their lives they overlook. This just doesn't like this whole segment makes zero sense coming from Hasan. What kind of goofy name is Pac-Man? Pretty good name. It's a pretty good name.
I know that. I'm aware of that. That's entirely different than claiming that someone has an APAC handler. As a matter of fact, if you look at
it's different, but in terms of the message you're trying to convey, it's not that different, right? you're saying he's aligned with AIPAC, which he is. Like the specifics, the details are different. The handler definitely makes it sound worse. David Pac-Man, once again, is being uncharitable in his estimation of your positions. Not only is he saying that you're anti-Semitic, but he's also saying that you said something much worse than what you did say. But the idea, the spirit of what that is pretty much the same. The specific details of saying he has an AIPAC handler versus like joking about a Pac-Man. It's like, oh, he's not in control of his own show. He's getting direct marching orders from Israel versus just making like a humorous comment that he's ideologically aligned with AIPAC. Like those are different things, but the spirit is pretty much the same. Once again, where's the bridge? Where's the bridge that you're afraid of your audience burning down?
The commentary there, clearly, if you look at the actual commentary, I'm saying like, no, this is his own personal biases. I think it's not, he's not getting paid for this opinion or something like that.
That is, I'm Jewish. I've never had an AIPAC handler or taken $1 from AIPAC or anything like that. But I recognize that he has a huge audience that is further to the left of where you are and where I am. Reaching to the middle, I understand. Is there value in trying to reach that young, further to the left, anti-capitalist audience that he has built for better or worse?
A leader should reach out to everyone.
And see how David Pac-Man describes this? Young and anti-capitalist, right? Would he be saying that it's anti-capitalist if he's an anti-capitalist? This is why I'm saying David Pac-Man is not an ally. I'm just like so fucking done with Democrats. It's just, you got to be anti-Israel, you got to be anti-capitalist. You're a good candidate.
One.
Oh, the libs are trotting out their entire panoply of tactics. Yeah,
I sit down with people in New Jersey from all.
Bro, stop trying to make friends with people who don't with you. Guys, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Okay, it's just maybe this is gonna make you really upset. But I think a lot of people genuinely consider being the most antisocial person possible.
This is why I say that at the end of the day, Hasan is just a chubby kid that wishes he could make friends with everyone. Because not saying that David Pac-Man is your ally is not the same as being antisocial, right? Like you're like, oh, he's in line with AIPAC. He's pro-Israel. Which, by the way, even Republicans that are anti-Israel are more charitable to Hasan than liberals that are pro-Israel. Like, I think it's fair to say that the most opposite of an ally you can be to Hasan right now is any form of a Zionist. Any Zionist is the biggest op to Hasan. And so when Hasan gets on here and he's like, David Pac-Man, he's aligned with AIPAC, he's pro-Israel, he's anti-Palestine, but he's an ally. That's crazy. Then when someone's like, don't be friends with them, sure, it's not being friends. He's not talking about, I'm going to like hang out with David Pac-Man. He's saying like, we have to work together or something, like coordinate for political goals. But then he is like, oh, it's antisocial to start criticizing David Pac-Man. That's not antisocial. That's not antisocial behavior at all. You wanting to make an allyship with another content creator to try to achieve larger, broader political goals is not being sociable. And breaking down that bridge is not being antisocial. This is like a weird psychological hang up that he has. We got to be friends with everyone. Anyway.
As the peak of like moral activism. No, I have to literally maintain a neutral posture against those who I oppose. Okay. That's it. You're never going to convince me not to do this because you don't.
And like, this is the other thing, a neutral posture against those I oppose. You just called him an ally. What are you talking about? The chatter said, stop trying to be friends with the person. when you call David Pacman an ally and they're like, okay, stop trying to be friends, that's reasonable. And then you're like, no, I have to maintain a neutral posture against those I oppose. A neutral posture against those you oppose? No, you don't. Also, being an ally with someone is not taking a neutral posture. And if you oppose them, why are you neutral on them? Like this is complete nonsense that he's spouting out here. It's antisocial to not be friends with people I oppose. Like, dude, this is what we criticize old school politicians for, right? The type of Joe Biden politician where it's like, well, we can be mortal enemies on the Congress floor, but when we go out to drinks together, we're the bestest of friends. Like, this is the type of shit that Americans on the right and the left reject wholeheartedly. They don't want the bullshit fake politics is just a job politicians anymore. They want people that are genuine. They want genuinity. They want genuinity in their content creators. They want genuinity in their politicians that they elect. And it's just weird to me that he's like, we have to have a neutral position against those we oppose. We have to maintain allyship with them. It's antisocial behavior to stop being friends with people we oppose. It's really just dumb stuff coming from Hasan here. But it's just like, and I think this stems from him seeing David Pacman, who he ostensibly thought he was on good terms with, just coming after him in a completely bloodthirsty way. Same with Ethan Klein. And I think that shit with Ethan Klein really hurt Hasan. And now, this is hurting Hasan too. And he's like, well, but I can't lose another friend. The friend is gone, dude. He's not your friend. Stop pretending that he's friends with you.
See, you don't see the success of not burning bridges because you consider burning bridges and not being diplomatic with other communities, with other massive communities, as like the peak of activism. And it's
not being diplomatic with massive communities. Like, he blamed you for making him lose views. He says you're anti-Semitic. This is the community you're trying to court right now.
Very frustrating. You don't understand that obviously requires a delicate touch. The idea that people can change their minds is important to me. Okay. And I will continue behaving in this pragmatic manner. My point is not to like be best friends with David Pacman either, but you guys don't have a way to understand it. Oh, what's really interesting about this is...
Yeah, and also he's accusing his audience of not having a way to understand it when he's done a horrible job of explaining what he actually means. He's trying to maintain a cordial relationship with David Pacman's community, but he's on his stream calling you an anti-Semite. That what community, what relationship is there to be gained there? Like, what bridge are you trying to build? And the other thing is this just strictly a personal project for you to try to get as many subscribers as possible? Because on the issues that you agree, which is essentially Trump bad, David Pacman's going to do a fine job communicating the idea to his audience that Trump is bad. On the issues that you disagree, namely Israel, you are not going to win over any of David Pacman's audience because you already won them over. There's no one left for you to win over. So unless you're just trying to get as large of an audience as possible by being like, we have to still maintain a relationship with David Pacman, you're not going to achieve any broader political goals more effectively by being an ally with the man, by like trying to court his community, because that bridge has already been cut. David Pacman just described the effect of that bridge being cut at the beginning of this clip when he said when you called him David A. Pacman, he lost a bunch of audience members. So like what? And it's not like you're going to save his current audience members, and they're fine. They're getting the Trump bad content that they go to his channel for. This just screams like a vanity project from Hasan here.
This was me literally being like, I've been unbelievably gracious to David Pacman in spite of our ideological differences. And
yeah, you've been unbelievably gracious to him. and he calls you an anti-Semite. Same with Ethan Klein. Maybe it's time for you to learn a different lesson.
He is still, saying ridiculous shit about me on his show to Cory Booker, who has, compared me to unfavorable far right figures, right? And it's really interesting. But of course, real conversation has to turn into how I'm too nice to David Pakman because I'm not demanding he go to prison or something.
Yeah. No, you called him an ally, and people said stop trying to be friends with him. Why are you being an ally when he's calling you anti-Semitic? You're being charitable to him. He's calling you anti-Semitic. And do you see why your audience might be a little bit frustrated with this type of shit? You're like, we need to be charitable to him. Hasan has been charitable to him. And still, even the slightest bit of pushback, even the slightest joke about David Pakman being aligned with AIPAC, and that's enough for Pakman to call you anti-Semitic. Maybe he's not your ally. Maybe it's not antisocial to be like, okay, this guy's kind of like a piece of shit. I don't know. Am I the one who's wrong?
All across the political and ideological spectrum, especially looking to sit down with people that I don't agree with. They've made me a better senator. They've made me a better leader. They've made me a better public servant. So I appreciate the way you approach this question, because I remember getting ticked off when I was running for president, and we actually banded together and all said, enough of these, like, raise your hand if you believe da-da-da-da-da, which was just lightning bolt questions with no nuance and no discussion. I am seeing the crisis we're in because, again, in the Central Ward of Newark, New Jersey, there is so much frustration with politics as usual. We need a revolution like we had in the time of the New Deal, a revolution like we had in the time of LBJ in the 1960s. Every time we have a generational movement. And this is a time where enough of the baby boomer generation that has given us so much, but I don't think we should have, this should be the last baby boomer head of the Senate.
I guess my point, by the way, is that, like, what I want from at least my community is a little bit more grace and a little bit more charitability. Especially,
it's so funny because I think this his community is extremely charitable, and when you hear someone say the Palestinians deserve to get blown up, that's where you lose charitability to me. And yeah, that's where you lose charitability. That's where my charitability runs out. Whenever someone talks about Israel, they're only there to talk about how, oh, people like Hasan are a little bit too pro-Palestine. Maybe they don't understand the intricacies and the detailed history of Israel. You lose some of my charitability there, right? And he's asking for his chat to be more gracious when he should really be asking David Pakman to be more gracious, right? I showed you grace, and you call me an anti-Semite. Where's the graciousness in that? But then when he says, oh, we need to be allies with David Pakman, and his chat's like, why are you trying to be friends with him? He's like, just be more gracious. And he does like the jank baby hands.
Actually, when I'm eating it, man, I don't want to duke it out in here with you guys too, especially with long-term community members. Like, do you not see what's going on? Do you have no care or consideration for what's happening beyond your immediate needs and your immediate worldview? Do you not see some very powerful forces uniting to try to deplatform me? We just went through a...
Yep, and guess who's one of those forces? David Pakman. Like, now he's like, oh, why is my chat being mean to me? This is supposed to be my safe space.
Article where there's like Jewish advocacy organizations trying to bar my entry into the UK, man. Like, how do you look at all of that and say, you know what? This is the moment where I lean into these forces and try to hit them from the left flank as well. I feel like I've done enough work in this space for you to have a little bit of charitability with what I'm doing, right?
It's like, like, it's the charitability that he's asking for him or for his or for David Pakman from his chat. He's just asking his chat to have charitability towards him. Okay, whatever. Like, it's literally like, dude, you called someone who called you an anti-Semite an ally, and then they're like, why are you friends with him? And then you're like, well, people are trying to call me an anti-Semite right now. It's like, please just have respect for for the system of the way that I treat my peers. Because there are people trying to cancel me. It's like David Pakman's trying to cancel you. People are just confused. Whatever, man.
This is a huge problem with the broader left anyway. We're so fragmented. We're so unbelievably fragmented, and we just like sit around and we think, why are we so fragmented? This is
I also disagree with this. I don't think the left is that fragmented. I think Israel's been a huge unifying force, and anyone who's not Israel, not like anti-Israel, I think they've proven themselves to not be a leftist. And yeah, I don't think that's an issue of being too fragmented or anything. I think that there are essentially two fragments in the Democrats, the anti-Israel Democrats and the pro-Israel Democrats, the anti-Zionists, the pro-Zionists.
This is why. This is a big part of it. People don't think about like movement building or organizing with people that you don't fucking agree with 99% of the time. You just go, nah, this guy. And you can.
Yeah. Like, I don't understand this, man. David Pakman, anti-Palestine, and you're calling him an ally. This is the issue.
Literally be a fan for years and years, right? You can be a fan for years and years, and you'll be like, I didn't like the way you conducted yourself here, and I actually don't care about why you did the thing that you did. I've now decided you're my enemy. You're my ideological opponent. This is how people find themselves in like weirdly, tinier, fragmented splinter groups and communities that spend every waking moment.
Yeah, but dude, calling someone who's a Zionist that says you're anti-Semitic for insinuating that he has an AIPAC connection, calling them an enemy is not an isolated community thing. This isn't like you're like fucking goth latex furry subreddit that you find yourself in. This is a pretty broad political movement. This is the largest grassroots political movement, at least in like recent American history. Like in terms of the total amount of public opinion shift, this is one of the biggest movements ever in American history. And you're like, oh, being anti-Zionist means that you're like being against a Zionist politically and like rhetorically against David Pakman means that you're in an isolated community. This is a wild thing to say. Like, there are much more valid criticisms you can be making. Like, there are situations where this criticism is valid, but this is not that situation. This isn't like David Pakman used the R slur, or he made like an offhanded comment about sex workers or something. Like, this is him saying you're anti-Semitic because you're anti-Zionist. At the end of the day, that's why. While people are trying to cancel you for being anti-Semitic.
And instead of attacking the forces of capital, instead of attacking much more powerful entities.
He just said, oh, these people are anti-capital. He's pro-capital. David Pakman is pro-capital and pro-Israel. Those are the two biggest issues in the world right now. At least in America. I mean, in American politics.
In this country,
like what? Oh, there are broader issues that we should unite on, and he's on the opposing side on the two biggest issues.
That spend every waking moment, instead of attacking the forces of capital, instead of attacking much more powerful entities in this country that are cancerous to both discourse and cancerous to the democratic process, but instead attacking people like myself. It's opportunists. I care about other people around us. No, you're gonna vocally do the same thing, okay?
The last baby boomer president, a new generation is rising in America that needs to have a powerful, revolutionary set of ideals to redeem the American dream. That's what I'm fighting for. It behooves me to listen to people that I disagree with, because can make me better, can make my arguments sharper, or, as I've seen in my 25 years in politics, actually help me evolve as a leader to have better ideas.
So on the specifics of getting in front of that Hasan audience? Valuable, not so much?
I think if you are saying, and I've said this to my team, you remember, I went in and took a job this year to help my caucus, who the average age is, I think it used to be 70 something, in the Senate as a whole, to say we're doing a terrible job communicating to young people. In fact, I think that one of the reasons why Donald Trump won is because he was getting on Discord and Twitch and mixed martial arts podcasts and platforms talking to young men. And we weren't even, our presidential team was not even on those platforms at all. They had a complete echo chamber with just their views. I got my team to get more on TikTok when other people did not realize that younger voters, that's how they get most of their news. And I've watched my caucus, because I can measure this all, more than 7x if you get out of Twitter, 4x with Twitter, the amount of engagement they have. I've seen how their engagement with younger voters has increased. I've seen them go on you and I both know in the creator economy, there are thousands of people that talk to young voters. And I've seen my colleagues get on more and more of those shows. So absolutely, yes, we have especially had a communications problem that for the 43 of us, I'm trying to push my team to go more and more to talk to younger voters who we need, not just to hear our message, but we need to be inspiring them.
F.A. Pacman. Well, thank you for the super chat. Yeah, David Pacman really just, I don't know, he kind of, he sucks. Let's just be honest. David Pacman sucks.
To get on the field and begin to lead the Democratic Party in the United States of America from cynicism to activism so that we can have a better nation.
That's a direct question about me with Jon Favreau, or not Jon Favreau, with John Lovett, and he did the exact same thing. He loves to filibuster, bro. Just say it with your chest, man. If you think I'm a anti-Semite, just say it, you know? So it's so disingenuous. I hate moments like this that just rip apart unity. Okay, we don't have the time.
Like, I don't understand this. I hate moments like this where David Pacman calls me an anti-Semite. Like, I don't like, dude. Look. I understand the sentiment from Hasan here, right? Oh, we're fighting against fascism. We're fighting against Trump. Why are we bickering amongst ourselves? But his ire for this bickering should be directed at David Pacman. It should not be directed at his chat, right? At his community. Like, David Pacman's the one that says that Hasan's anti-Semitic and his audience is too anti-capitalist. That's what's going on in this situation. And Hasan's like, well, why are we fighting? Why are we fighting, chat? Stop trying to rip apart our unity. It's like, bro, the unity's gone. What are we doing here? Hasan is way too cocky. Goddamn, Jess.
Or the movement to just push people aside, just say unity. We just don't have it. Okay, we're staring at a fascist country right now that is actively trying to take away people's civil liberties.
Yeah, I know. I know, but David Pacman's in favor of fascism, at least when it comes to Israel. Like, I don't know what else to say. You're trying to pretend David Pacman's on your side when he's spitting in your fucking face.
Is taking away the voting power that black people have in the South with their redistricting efforts, and we're over here being like, oh man, I don't like that you're being, I don't like that in the past you were charitable to certain people, and they've you over and over again. I think you should be way more mean. Well, I gave you a good example of being charitable to certain people that I have significant disagreements with, and how that's actually been somewhat successful in allowing me to have some allies in this space. Yeah,
but David, well, okay, first of all, what are the examples of you being charitable towards someone? Like, I'm not even disagreeing with that fact. I know you're charitable towards them, but there are plenty of examples where you are charitable to people for way too long, and it burned you in the end. David Pacman is one of these examples. Like, he's not your ally. Where are you getting the idea that he's your ally? He's in this clip. He's like bemoaning the idea that you stole his audience from him, and he's maligning you as an anti-Semite. Like, what are we talking about? Oh, we need to maintain charitability towards people so I can so we can be allies with them. No, that's not the case.
Have to have allies in this space. I'm sorry, guys. This community is constantly growing and constantly getting smaller as well. There are, a lot of people who check out. So we have to filter in new people in the process. And if I had your attitude, if I was constantly trying to shank people left and right, especially in the independent media sphere, then yeah, this community would become a much more marginal, a much tinier one. Okay. Now, obviously, this doesn't mean we should be aligning with like neo some shit. I make that calculation on my own, and I just am basically telling you, you have to trust me on this sometimes. Do you understand? I do this because I understand the urgency. Okay. Purity politics is toxic, unbelievably toxic. And it's really funny because everyone also hates it. Even people who are its most vociferous defenders, they are the people who hate it as well. They just do it to other groups. Everyone does it to a certain degree. I mean, certainly you could say I'm doing it when I say, yeah, I don't want to align with neo-Nazis on the issue of Israel, right? You could be like, oh.
Do you want to align with Zionists on the issue of Israel? Like, this is what people are accusing you of. They're not disagreeing with your overarching goals of, making your community an open and relevant one, and one that's willing to work with different groups of people, even if you don't align with everyone. But if we're on the subject of talking about at what line do you stop working with people, neo-Nazis, when it comes to Israel, is a pretty damn good line to stop working with people. What about Zionists when it comes to Israel? Are you going to work with them? Because if you are, then maybe people don't know you as well as they thought they did. But what I really think the case is that Hasan just doesn't. I don't know, because I was going to say he doesn't think David Pakman's a Zionist, but he's called him David A. Pakman before. Like, he knows that he's a Zionist. At least he's like aligned with Israel. I guess he just thinks that he's not that bad of a Zionist. But when you're complaining about being canceled right now by pro-Israel Zionist groups, it strikes me as odd when you're defending a guy calling you an anti-Semite. Right? Like, David Pakman calls you an anti-Semite here. And then you're like, guys, we can't go after David because there are people calling me anti-Semitic right now. Yeah, he's one of them.
Oh, that's purity politics, right? At the end of the day, they're against Israel. Well, the reason for why is because I don't think they actually are against Israel. They want to do Israel here in the United States of America, and they're not.
Yeah. You're describing why you're not working with Nazis, which I don't think your audience really needs you to describe. Okay. I think he's charitable to the wrong people, to being the biggest issue. Being charitable is an amazing quality, but when he keeps not learning from his mistakes, can be defend you at some point. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like he's just in a mood when he made this clip. I think his audience just like called him out, and he's found himself kind of in a rabbit hole trying to defend some indefensible positions.
Actually against Israel. They're just using the issue of Israel to foment anti-Semitism, and some people fall for it, right? A lot of pockets in this community are becoming more and more insular, and we're creating mini echo chambers that go out to other streams and splinter discourse, etc. I try to act like their view is the overarching community views. We must always keep in mind what Hasan's goals for his own community are. Yeah. I think the most basic concept here is, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, right?
You're not going to catch David Pakman nor his audience. So, I mean, it's cute that you're trying, but it's not going to happen, because all of the audience members that you would have caught, you already did. David himself said that.
No, I think that's the statement, right? Set to it, run. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs. All I'm saying is, remember how appreciative you were at some point when I was understanding of your ideology.
This is so funny, right? Because now he's equating David Pakman to a lost Twitch viewer. He's equating the political streamer / YouTuber Zionist David Pakman, who spent like the last year calling Hasan an anti-Semite, and he's comparing that person to like a 16-year-old kid stumbling upon Twitch with some reactionary viewpoints spouting off in Hasan's chat. Interesting. I mean, it's an interesting tactic. I don't agree with it at all, but it's funny that he's making this comparison.
Logical shortcomings. Okay? Remember that. There will always be an area where you or myself will have ideological shortcomings, blind spots born out of privilege, the privilege of even being a first worlder, right?
A blind spot born out of privilege. All right. Well, you said it, Hasan, not me. Although I did say it like, I did say it way before Hasan said it.
Privilege of living and growing up in the imperial core. That's an unbelievable privilege that you have over billions of people on this planet that don't have that same fortune. They weren't born here. So there's a lot of blind spots that come along with that, and you got to work at it. You got to chip away at it. Okay? And regardless of my worldview on imperialism, empire, anti-imperialism, I'm still pretty understanding of people who demonstrate that blind spot, because I understand that most people's starting position here is that blind spot.
But it's not fucking David Pakman. Like
imperialism.
Okay, like this is a clip. This is cut off. Maybe he went on and was talked more about David Pakman. But going off of this, David Pakman does not have an imperialism blind spot who's just starting his political journey and needs to be educated. What are we talking about here? The man called you an anti-Semite. The man is like not anti-capitalist. He's pro-capitalist. He says your community's too anti-capitalist, right? And you're like, no, we need to be allies. Everyone has their blind spots. A lot of people have a lot of people have a pro-imperialism stance when they first start getting into politics, so we need to be charitable. Bro, like, this is literally infantilizing David Pakman. He's a grown-ass man with like millions of subscribers on YouTube that just called you anti-Semitic. What is going on right now? Bad Empanada has unfortunately become another Hasan bad guy. Bad Empanada has always been a Hasan bad guy. Don't get it twisted. What are the comments here? Pretending not to know how to say APAC felt like intentional rage bait. Let's full screen this. David A. Pakman is perfect. If there's anything David Pakman is concerned about, it's his revenue stream. Did not realize Pakman was still around. Remember when Pakman made 3 AI-generated kids books so he wouldn't have to pay an artist? It's just so funny. Like, Hasan spends 15 minutes being like, David Pakman still needs charitability. His entire comment section is like, David Pakman bad. Hasan, they didn't take your advice. And nor should they. This was bad advice.